Good morning. My name is Ron Morris. This is Moving Forward TV, your local real estate and mortgage update.
And I am Delynn Gaston. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
And we're going to continue on our mini-series on what it takes to get a loan approval.
Right.
We're going to talk about two subjects today. One is residence history, and the other is job history. And I'm going to let Delynn kind of start us off on the residence history.
Residence history, where you've lived for the last 2 years, really important. The two key things that the underwriters are looking for and why they're looking for it. We need a 2-year history. The reason for it is, one, they're looking for stability. They want to see that you have put down roots, so to speak, in the ground. They want to make sure you're not jumping from house to house to house to house to house, rent to rent to rent. We have to sometimes get 12 months canceled checks showing that you've had rent payments that you've been paying on time, and or a verification of rent from
the landlord.
Course, and if you've had 10 different landlords in the last 2 years,
doesn't go over too well.
Not to mention it delays things. So the other real key thing that the underwriters are looking at is we have to process these days something called a 4506T.
That boring form again.
He hates that form. He hates that subject. You've heard us mention it many times.
Time and time again.
On the show. The 4506T form is an authorization that we can verify with the IRS your income. And all lenders are doing that form these days. Everyone. They used to only do some of them. Now they're all doing it on every file.
And I think you had a really good example of why it's very necessary to be accurate on your addresses, because explain that story, what happened on that.
This is what happens. They have to, when they send in this form, this 4506 form to verify your income, if the address doesn't match exactly to the address that you filed your tax return under, it gets spit back. And then we're sitting here scratching our heads trying to figure out, well, what's wrong? What isn't right on this form? Anyway, what ended up happening with my couple was, it was a young couple, and they had lived in an apartment for the last 2 years, and that's the address that I had put on the 4506T form. What I didn't realize, that they still had all of their tax forms and such going to mom and dad's address. So that was
failed to tell you that, but
they had filed,
so.
Under mom and dad's address on their tax return. So that causes delays. So just a heads up on that.
Try to minimize that. Let's move on to the job history portion of that. Now, again, we're looking for a 2-year history in the same occupation or job. I know a lot of people
not necessarily the same job. A lot of confusion out there. You don't have to be on your job for 2 years. You just have to be in the same line of work for 2 years. For example, if you're working at Helen Allen Hospital for a couple of years, and 6 months ago you switch over to Morton Plant, that's fine as long as you're in the same line of work.
And let's kind of run with that analogy as well. If you're in school, again, let's kind of go with that nurse thing. If you're in school for a couple years or more to be a nurse, you've got a job as a nurse for maybe, let's say, 6 months. You're okay, because the underwriter will utilize that prior education as job history, as long as you're in the occupation that you went to school for. So that's a very important part of it as well. We see that from time to time as well. Now, playing along those lines, again, if you have somebody that's a store clerk, let's say being trained to become a complete career change to be a police officer. They've only been a police officer for 6 months, not able to count that income. They need to be on that job, that specific job, for 2 years. And what were some of the reasons for that?
Physical stability. First of all, they want to see stamina, or mental. You're right. They want to make sure that the person in this new occupation, even whatever, they have to make sure that they can physically do it. If they have gone from, let's say, a desk job or something like that, or a clerk or whatever, to all of a sudden a physical job, they have to make sure that they can physically do that job. And their little magic number is 2 years. If someone does it for 2 years, then they feel that they can do it for the rest of their life.
And let's talk about part-time jobs. I think in the economy that we're all in, I know Delynn and I have seen numerous clients that have a part-time or a second job. That's great. We can only count it. I thought you were going to say we have a second job. No, that's another story. we can only count that second or part-time job income if they've been on it 2 years. So kind of keep that in mind, too, for the buyers out there.
And for the same reasons, can somebody phically handle working two jobs? That's a lot. I can't work 2 jobs. So, well, I guess we already do with parenthood, but working 2 jobs, can they physically handle that? And again, the magic number is 2 years. If they can do it for 2 years, working 2 jobs, and we're not kidding, we can't count it. If you've been on it, a year and 9 months, we cannot count it.
Call me in 3 months if you need that income to qualify for that loan.
Okay, that being said about job history and everything, let's talk about disability real quick. Short-term disability, long-term disability.
Maternity leave is another one.
Maternity leave. If you guys ever watch Think Big, Work Small, which is a great show, real estate news that comes out on a daily basis, they actually touched on this today too.
Today, right.
A lender was recently fined because HUD says that we can count maternity leave and the income that one gets when they're out on maternity leave, but lenders, you've heard us talk about it before, here's guidelines, and lenders
overlays.
put all these little overlays on top of it. So and a lender said no, that they weren't counting
so
it.
there's two lenders, I think, and both lenders got fined because of a discrimination on that.
So short-term disability, maternity leave does count, but there may or may not be lender overlays that we have to deal with, and then HUD will deal with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And short-term disability for like a car accident or something like that, they do want to see short-term disability on something like that. It's hard because they don't know.
That's a sticky one.
It's
right. That's
case by case.
Right.
And long-term disability, they need proof that disability is going to continue forever in order to count that income. Short-term disability, they don't know. Is your back going to get better from that car accident? They don't know. So it definitely is a sticky thing. The other thing that comes up a lot, or not a lot, but does come up is education. The people who are going to school and their doctorates, for their doctorate or whatever, they get income.
Specifically if they were ex-military and they have some kind of income coming in for education purposes. I've had two different answers. I've had some lenders that say, yeah, that's fine. I have had other lenders, probably an overlay, that said, no, we're not going to count that until they're out of school and in whatever occupation they're going to go in.
Case by case basis.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much our show for the day, but I know we want to get into a really funny story.
We have to share something really funny. You guys might have already heard about it. The Bank of America story, for those of us.
I think it was in
Bank of America.
Naples.
Might not be our favorite lender. Bank of America is actually getting sued for foreclosure, and actually
they were foreclosed on.
They were foreclosed on. Funny story down in Naples. If we put the YouTube link.
We have a link down below.
Here.
Please check it out.
You got to check it out because
you'll get a chuckle out of it.
Poetic justice.
Yeah, let's say it that way. That being said, let's move on. We had absolutely no winner on the movie challenge last week,
which was. It was Back to the Future.
Great movie, but nobody got that one. So we're actually going to flip it around this week and do a music challenge. So right at the end of the show, as the credits are going, the sponsors are going by, there's an artist that's singing. Just make sure you're the first one to email us the answer to that. We'll get you the gift card to us.
Not blog it, email it.
Don't blog, email. We'd like you to blog, but not about that. Blog about other things, but email us the name of that artist, and we'll get you the gift card out there. And I believe that's about it for this week.
Please visit our sponsors. We thank you so much for joining us. Next week's show is going to be about credit, and it's wrapping up our How to Get Approved little mini-series. So we're going to touch on credit, so that's going to be a great show. Please forward the show to your clients, to people that you know who this might help. Blog us down below, Twitter, Facebook. We're on our social network. Put us out on yours. We thank you so much. And that's it. We are
moving forward. We'll see everybody next week.
Bye-bye.
What do you suppose they call that? A novelty act?
I don't know, but it wasn't too bad.
Well, that's a novelty.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner. Sometimes I feel like my only friend